Supreme Court said yesterday that President Trump can move forward with sending illegals to countries where they don't live. You don't have to go home, as the nightclub says at 2 a.m. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now, let me express my thoughts on this through, I guess, a story. Several years ago, I was arrested. I know I was living a criminal lifestyle. I was arrested for busking on the side of the street. I was in Hawaii and I was playing music, and I was apparently not allowed to put a price on the CDs that I was selling, which I did. Unfortunately, that was illegal, and I got arrested and taken to the police station. Now, after I was booked, and they, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't like fighting the cops or anything. I was like, yeah, okay, I was wrong here. I didn't know that, but it will proceed as it will. They let me out of the police station, in which case I asked for a ride back to the place that I was staying, which is about 3 miles away from the police station. They said no, they're not going to give me a ride back. Good luck on my own. The reason I say that is this. I don't know if I see too much of a difference between my situation then and this situation now. If the United States doesn't have borders, you don't have a country. And at the same time, do people who have snuck into the country illegally deserve taxpayer dollar funded trips back to where they came from? Or do the American people just deserve the right to have these people out of their country? I don't care where they go as long as they're not here, especially if they're criminals. That was effectively the Supreme Court's ruling, and here to comment on that and so much more is our singular solo panel guest today, Bobby Sauce, political conservative commentator. Bobby, what do you make of this? So a judge, a federal judge, blocked President Trump, and the Supreme Court didn't say, hey, you can do it. They said, hey, that temporary injunction is not valid until it works its way all the way through the process. So there's still an appeals process going on. It's not completely settled. The Supreme Court just said, hey, you can't just stop it cold turkey without this thing being settled. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, it's definitely troubling that these very radical and in many cases financed into their own position by a very specific person and or group of people for the intention for them to interfere in these types of matters. That is definitely a bad thing. As far as I can understand, what the ruling discussed originally, him deporting them to countries that was not their country of origin, was when it was impossible or impractical to send them back to that original country. So to me, it seems like a reasonable thing that any normal person would tend to agree with, but this red tape and headline shocker that you can get by saying he's deporting them to countries that they're not even from is just a perfect example of causing a stir out of something that any rational person would consider to be normal as soon as they just looked at it. So this is par for the course, and yet another example of what can I do to capture the headline, interfere in something that is not only rational but reasonable? There's your generalized leftist of the modern day.
Well, to your point of oh my gosh, they're sending them to somewhere they've never been. Kind of like how they came here to the United States, a place where they have never been. It doesn't seem that crazy to it's again, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And if your country won't accept you, or you don't want to go back to that country that you were originally from, that doesn't mean you just get to stay here, right? You got to go somewhere. And if it's not that country, I guess, whatever at that point.